All right, the next problem I'm going to have us look at is number 6. Again, this is one that is just telling us to graph. But again, we're using our skills we have learned here. So first, I always start with the C values. The C value of -10 tells me my y-intercept is at 0, -10. You'll see some of these are not perfectly centered on the graph, so you will have to, on some of these, be a little creative with where they go off and what is actually shown on the graph. So once we have that, we're then going to ask ourselves, where is the vertex, just like before? So I'm going to go b equals -6, a equals -1, and I plug that into negative b over 2a. I'll get out of the way here just in a moment. That's going to give us 6 over -2, which is -3. So it tells me that the axis of symmetry for this equation is at -3. I'm going to go ahead and plug that -3 into my original equation. I'll go ahead and do that over here. Y equals negative -3 squared minus 6 times -3 minus 10. So this is going to give me -9 plus 18 minus 10. I'll put my y equals in the front. Again, I combine my like signs here. So I've got a positive 18, and I've got a -9 and -10, which I'm going to combine together. So that's going to give me 18 minus 19, which equals -1. So that tells me that the coordinates of my vertex are at -3, comma, -1. And I can go ahead and go to -3, -1, and know that is my vertex. My next step here is that I would look for my x-intercepts. This is something that I'll show you a trick for whether you need to look for these really or not soon, but I'll show you what you would normally do, which is go straight to factoring. So you would go a times c. So -1 times -10 would give me positive 10, and my b value is -6. So I'm looking for possible values that multiply together to 10 and add up to -6. So if they add together to a negative and multiply to a positive, I know they both have to be negatives. And my only real options to multiply to 10 are -1 and -10, and -2 and -5. And since neither of those work, this gives me the solution of not factorable. And this makes a lot of sense here for a reason that I said in the beginning, which is kind of like a shortcut logic here. I know my vertex here is at -3, -1. I also know my a value is negative. So I know that the parabola is opening downward, and that would make sense for why I do not have any x-intercepts, and it is not factorable. So as I look here, my axis of symmetry was at -3. My parabola opens downward. I'm not really too concerned with many of the other features other than just that my parabola, I made that look a little bit sideways here, is going to look the same on the right and the left. So for right now, those are really the only two major points you need to know. And from the right side of the axis of symmetry, the left side should look the same. So this one seemed like a little bit of a trick question. That's probably what got some people mixed up, is that there were not x-intercepts at all. It's opening downward.